Hello everyone, my name is Desmond, Senior Regional Product Manager for Epson Singapore. Before we begin today's webinar, there are some house rules we would like you to take note of. All participants have been muted throughout the webinar session. If you have a question during the presentation, please type your question using the Q&A option located right below. Our product specialist will answer you as soon as possible. If you encounter any technical difficulties, please get our attention by using the raise hand option. This webinar will take about 1 hour. Be reminded that attendees are to use your real names to confirm on your attendance. Do expect some lag in the video playback, but your local representatives will be sending the video upon request. Finally, we'd like to request you to participate in a short survey at the end of the session to improve on your overall experience for our next webinar. Today, we are delighted to have very special speakers from Fluxmall DTG Vietnam to share how they establish an effective high-volume direct-to-garment printing business model featuring our F3030. During the presentation, they will also be showcasing how their solution works the best based on the different scenarios. Our guest speaker for today is Dimitri Sabev, Managing Director of Fluxmall DTG Vietnam. It will be followed by a quick product sharing by our Regional Product Manager, Wendy Lee. Without further ado, I shall now hand over the time to them.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dimitri. I'm the Managing Director of Fluxmall DTG. We are based in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and Fluxmall has been in this business for the last 7 years, I believe. We have set the goal to bring the best world-known DTG solutions for different needs, from entry-level to industrial. And I would say that our core DNA of the company is all around educating. We do a lot of work to train people. Most of that would be primarily our end users, of course, but we also have an extensive work with local and international universities, organize different workshops, seminars related to garment decoration and DTG specifically. We are also the authorized dealer for Epson SureColor SC F3030 in Vietnam. And we believe Epson has made a truly outstanding product. And this will be the foundation of what we will be talking in the next 30 or 40 minutes. And there are multiple things that I'm going to touch base today. This is our agenda. So number one, we'll start with the question, what makes the Epson F3030 truly remarkable? The second is that how to increase revenue with Epson SureColor F3030. Then we'll talk a little bit about preparing your DTG facility for F3030 based production. And the last one would be the solutions for DTG with various business models based on F3030. So with that, let's start talking about F3030 itself. I'm not going to dig here deeper into machine tech presentation. You can contact your dealer, or if you're listening and you're the dealer yourself, please talk to your regional product manager in Epson. What I want to emphasize, though, is some practical experience as both the dealer and a bit of a printing company as well. In Fluxmall, we always emphasize the importance of a dealer having real hands-on experience as the best way to educate end users and help them a bit to avoid making mistakes along their way. So I want to start with this statement that Epson F3030 is a truly industrial one. And this printer is not for beginners. So if you are very new to DTG, if you're only excited by the speed itself, this is definitely not for you. The only exception, it would be that if you come from a garment decoration background, maybe you've been in screen printing for many years, or you have an extensive customer database, whether that will be wholesale or you do some e-commerce. So you're not a beginner already, and then you're trying to extend to DTG. That's where the machine would fit best. Second thing is that efficient, high volume, and yet very compact solution is the new F3030. We believe that the future of the DTG is in compact solutions. Space is a commodity, speed is really expensive, and raising speed and quality while staying in the same compact form factor, that's where we believe the industry is heading today. The third is that its TCO really allows you redundancy. I think F3030 is very well priced in competition. It makes a lot of sense to have an extra unit for backup if you run volumes. And one of the most important things, as we think, is that this product is developed by Epson with a zero downtime in mind. Even with no backup, if you cannot allow it, all the self-repair options, as well as the pricing for warranty, it's up to 5 years. We believe those options are outstanding. You can virtually change the print head yourself within just a few minutes. So once you look at all of that, this is really the question that you need to ask yourself. Am I really ready for industrial DTG? If you are, that's where F3030 comes in place, and it will really help you to achieve your business goals. Now, the other thing that makes this machine truly remarkable is that it is evolving this approach to DTG in garment decoration. And I'm talking mostly to those people who had an experience with entry-level solutions and have been in DTG industry for years. There is this kind of an old approach to this, that DTG is slow, it could be very expensive, quality is really not there when it comes to volumes, printing output sometimes is not great at all, could be lots of headaches with the maintenance. But what we see with F3030, that its speed will allow you to achieve very high productivity in a single pass. Speed is truly outstanding here. The speed in a single pass is so fast, especially when you come from an entry-level background, that you will need actually time to get used to it. And you need to make sure that your operators actually catch up with that speed, and you will need to align your other processes with that, whether that would be pretreatment, choosing the liquids that master some of your software settings so that you actually would be used with the speed of this machine. But second is that it delivers really consistent output as long as your other production steps are consistent. We have a machine that I believe have around 20,000 prints in less than 4 months here. That's like an average load. And it's absolutely stable in terms of output and consistency, as long as your production steps are refined. And we'll talk about this more today. And if they're not refined, then don't blame the machine. The machine is very good on the output and on the consistency. And one of the important things is the application spectrum is really wide. So you can see some of the applications here on the screen. There are multiple things that you can apply on. 100% cotton and blended fabric, I think it's pretty much straightforward here. Direct to film printing, or so-called, and very popular in the region, PET printing right now. It's also a very popular application. It allows you to do heat transfer to virtually any type of fabric thanks to hot melt powder. We call it sometimes reversal DTG. That's something which is right now possible with a machine. And of course, what you see on the right is 100% dark polyester. We were able to achieve pretty amazing results in a single pass. Very fast, no dye migration, no bleeding, great wash fastness. This is something that you can do on that machine. And you can see also on the screen, this is the results on 100% polyester. You see how bright the colors are. Those of you who work for the fashion market, I think the biggest challenge of us as printers who always has been, are we really able to bring quality to the retail level? If by any chance you're listening right now and you represent a fashion brand, I'm sure you had many opportunities with DTG to double the quality and consistency in the past. Also, I'd say like wide experience with large fulfillment centers in the world and with big DTG printers. Lots of people have ordered, and sometimes when it comes to ordering, you receive very, very poor quality. As it relates to F3030, we have tested on a number of different substrates. And I believe color-wise, I can say that it delivers really excellent results. What is, in my opinion, no less important in DTG is an improved hand fill compared both to F2130 and some of the most known competitors as well, which is why we have actually seen fashion brands intentionally choosing prints from F3030 output and not the other machines. We've seen this in the region. We've also seen them in Western markets when it comes to export, that the hand fill is so nice and acceptable to those premium brands that then intentionally choose the output from that machine. And the other thing is, Epson F3030 has so many unique technological features in the machine, like droplet placement, nozzle verification technology, which prevent on-the-fly prints from starvation, from bending, from some really weird mistakes like blurry prints. And again, I don't want to repeat the product presentations, but just want to say that these words that you see on the brochure do work and do make life on operator easier. We work a lot with different entry-level units as well, and we can say that once you get access to those unique features that F3030 offers, you truly understand what you're paying for. Okay, so having said all of that, with all that remarkable points of F3030, let's talk more about generating revenue and doing it in a really smart way with F3030. So once you start to own F3030, you have to think of the ways how to use it effectively, in the sense that you're able to return your investment quite rapidly, and also you use it in a powerful industrial tool in your hands on a daily basis. The approach could be quite complex. You need knowledge, you need money to invest, not only in F3030, but other things as well. You need skills to manage your demand in your production. You need this strategical approach and the ability to forecast tomorrow's demand and capacity. So let's talk about the key factors here, which I believe are demand generation, maximum output, reduced cost per print, process management, and also team management. Let's start with demand generation. And demand generation is really not the topic of today's session and discussion, but I'll also touch base on that briefly because I would like to help you avoid some of the mistakes. Being 7 years in the DTG industry and starting in those times when essentially here in Vietnam, there were nothing available besides quite cheap DIY units. And over the years, we've seen how different machines appear on the market. And we also saw people jumping into business too fast without really understanding what they're doing. And as the result, we've seen that their businesses are not sustainable. They cannot last longer. And especially during those COVID-19 times, they couldn't survive. So I'd say building your business first and buying the machine second might reduce your risks. So once you build up your business first, once it's justifiable, then go ahead and make that purchase. Industry has become really educated. Before, a lot of people were not qualified. A lot of people were not ready for DTG. Now, when you jump in, you clearly should understand, am I able to build an industrial type of a business within 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Because there's a lot of competition going on right now. There's many OEMs available on the market. There is much more demand for digital right now as well. Yet I think personally that demand generation is kind of a big problem, especially in our region right now, which is still to be solved. Things keep evolving to better, but some of the major obstacles are, for example, the infrastructure related to DTG business is underdeveloped. I'm talking more about cross-border shipping, some service providers, some legal side of that, some better integration, the availability of printing service companies and other suppliers that can accept digital orders. Also, it looks like there is generally not enough capacity of the supply chain, especially in the realities of today's world. And you can see by the fact that our region is always last for new equipment. Not enough machines, maybe inks and pigments, and priority is normally given to the well-developed markets. And also some things like quality and consistency, for example, of blank garments, it could be a nightmare in the region and in Vietnam specifically. But also one of the things is that key players in developed e-commerce businesses and garment decorations, I believe, are yet to come to the regions. We don't see major big players here. Thus, less developed is e-commerce of decorated apparel, as opposed to Western markets where what's happening at the moment is that e-commerce is almost eating traditional retail. How to get out of those problems, how to solve this? Well, this is generally in the hands of each and every one of us. The more each of us will do, the better it will be. And just being a part of this global community, raising your voice, reaching out for partnerships to bigger brands, attracting more foreign investment capital, those are the things that we might need to do. Think how to build something that will have greater demand in 1 or 2 or 5 years. Okay, so that's related to demand. And let's assume that you have demand and you can generate it. And now you're ready to load your industrial production. So this is all when it comes to maximum output. And when it comes to output, this is all about speed. I will emphasize it once again. Maximum output is all about speed, ability to maintain it, and thus having this maximum output. It is defined by at least 3 factors that I want to touch base on. Number 1 is that your real production output, how fast you're able to run. Pauses between printing. We've seen a lot of facilities and very inefficient, I would say, in a sense, productions when operators feel very relaxed between unloading one shirt and loading the second shirt. Second is that your standby time. If you own the equipment, you naturally want to make use the most of it. And this is your investment. So why would you use it only in one shift, single shift, which is, let's say 8 hours only, and let it sit idle for the rest of the time, which is 16 hours. And then of course, your downtime. It's important to think in advance of it. These are the machines, and no matter how good they are, they break. So what are you going to do once they break? How do you practically achieve the reduction of your downtime? I think there are a few things that you need to consider. So I'd start with the importance of having stock of your spare parts. Warranty covers most of these issues, but supply chain is a different issue. And it's better to have a spare print head, a main board, some power boards at hand, so that if it happens, you always have something next to you that you can put in your machine and then replace everything else by warranty. Now, second is that redundancy in your equipment. We already talked a little bit about that, but also if you have multiple units or plan a large production, it's always feasible to have a backup on each stage, whether that would be let's say a second-hand heat press or a simple pretreat unit or a spare printer, that's always good to think about redundancy in production. Third would be preventive maintenance schedules. Make sure that you thoroughly follow maintenance. Don't wait until your machine is down, your pretreat machine filters are clogged, your air conditioned system dies, or whatever it would be. Yes, F3030 is a low maintenance unit, but don't neglect maintenance. This is a very important point in operation as well. The other thing that you have to think about is befriending your dealer, and also at some stage, maybe hiring a dedicated technician on staff. It's important to know who your dealer is. It's also important to know the engineers, and especially if you're a bigger customer and then you own 2 or 3 different units, then it makes sense to have also a hired technician on staff. He can also work as your, let's say, part-time DTG operator, but it's always good to have some person with a technical solid knowledge on staff to maintain and service those machines. And also, we shouldn't underestimate the availability of live support. In Vietnam, for example, we use Zalo as one of the primary means to communicate with a customer. And I'm speaking right now as a dealer. And I can tell you one thing, customers don't care if you work on Sunday or not. If they run their production, it's their choice to have chosen Sunday as their production day. So if there's something happens, they must be heard even on Sundays all the time. I personally find it a bit different from the Western markets, where this demand for instant reply is not that high, I would say, in Western markets. But anyhow, you should be really creative and flexible in terms of the way that you're going to provide live support to those who own the printing units. Okay, so the next one is the reduced cost per print. Well, there are some key points to understand when you reach industrial volumes. Your framework, once you start to go industrial, is in seconds when it comes to time, and in $milli when it comes to dollars. You can't afford plus and minus 1 minute or plus minus $1 anymore, like you used to do when you were operating an entry-level machine. You start to think in this framework of cents and seconds. And the other thing is that cost per print is not just ink, okay? So if you go to a trade show, I hope soon we'll be able to do it in person again, but once you approach some printer, and they will show you, okay, this is how many milliliters, this is how many cc that prints consume. But I want to tell you, ink is not that detrimental. Yes, probably it sometimes dominates the cost, but it's not the only cost you have. So when it comes to cost per print, you need to keep optimizing it continuously in order to be able to bring it to some effective levels. So when it comes to ink cost, it's mostly depends on the rip. And you need to ask yourself, are you able to control your ink flow, your whites, because it's mostly about white ink, of course, precisely with regards to the fabrics that you use, the ink density, the whites under black, and all those things that will help you to avoid some problems like bleeding or ink starvation. And let me give you one side note here, because we run into that sometimes online when we look through different forums and chats and groups of professionals. Sometimes you bump into those kinds of speed comparison videos when they would put 2 machines side by side, and then what they want to do is they want to compare the speed of one machine versus the other machine, and they will say this machine is faster, this machine is slower. And I would say be very skeptical about those types of videos, because there is a lot of settings that might stand behind the print, and the speed that they are demonstrating in those videos. The other thing is that you don't necessarily need to trust the default settings of your software. Yes, there are some recommendations that OEM can give you based on their RIPs and so forth, but once you start to own the unit, it's in your hands, and there is plenty of different things that you can play around. There's the number of passes, it's your resolution, it's all sorts of different things that you can play with, and then you will find out that this is the best quality that I can achieve at the settings which are optimal in terms of the speed. So it's not necessarily that you need to slow down your machine, but you need to find those settings that you would still be satisfied with the quality, but you would still keep a decent speed. So that's something that you have to work through all the time. Now, the next thing, besides ink, you also have to look at your pretreatment cost. And with pretreatment, I'd say dilution ratios have a big impact on cost. If you have a chance, buy only concentrates from your dealers, dilute yourself. Different pretreatments work differently and require absolutely different amounts for different fabrics. So that's something that you need to experiment with in order to optimize. Also, overheads. Do you know your overheads? That would be from your rent, your bills, to marketing, to accounting, and so forth. Do you know them? A simple example is once you get, let's say, powerful conveyor belt dryer in your facility, look how your electricity bills will change. They might go crazy with the numbers. So that's also your overheads, which you don't need to underestimate. And then, of course, labor cost. Who is on your team and how effective they are. Here is when we're getting to some really critical slides in effective industrial DTG. And that's one of them is around your process management. How do you operate your production facility? The core of this process is the same. It's from basically receiving a garment or blank panels to shipping them out. And within that, you can break down as much as you would like. But if you start industrial, you have to start thinking about your standard operational procedures. And it doesn't have to be really overcomplicated. It could start with as simple as some textual description of each process. You can do other things like Visio diagrams or whatever it would be. But without it, you will inevitably be bumping into some bottlenecks. Bottlenecks is your inefficiency. It's your loss of profit. It's your loss of time. It's stress for your whole team. It's the increased number of spoilage, which is why understanding what you're going to do with each operation is really critical here. And the other thing is that standard operational procedures require continuous refining process as well. Lots of people get scared when of this whole idea, you know, that they need to draw something. But I would just encourage you, start really small. Start with where your production is right now. Break it down into small operations. Set some yes or no conditions and constraints so that your team knows what to do when something happens and what not to do when something happens. Also define some metrics behind that. That will serve as your key indicators to refine and to improve. And I'll share a little bit in the case study later. And then one more thing which is important to highlight is our team management. So when it comes to team management, there are three basic things to look at. Number one is the skills training. It can take you 2 hours to get a newbie on a simple DTG operation and train them in a sense that he would at least know what to do. And it could take you up to half a year to get this person fully understand all the SOPs and get all product trainings. Also, skills matrix really helps to assess personal qualification of your DTG operator. If you don't know what it is, Google it. It will show you and how to structure the skills properly, and it's something that you will really benefit in a real production. The second thing is this word accountability. Okay, and accountability is some system of benefits and penalties, benefits for performing well, penalties for mistakes. And it's good that your team actually is motivated to perform together, at least on a shift level. It's also beneficial that they support each other to reduce your spoilage. However, on a personal level, they also need to have some sort of established KPIs, say the number of trainings they complete, or the amount of overtime hours total they had per month, or something, whatever it would be. When you have multiple shifts, there should be some established procedure of a handover from shift to shift as well. I also will show it in the case study. And then the third one is review. That's where you need to ask yourself those questions to yourself, and also maybe your HR person. How do you assess what they know? How do you define who is a junior operator or a senior operator? How is managing part-time workers different? How about the flexibility for the growth of your team in a more dynamic way? Talking to your team as well and understanding better how to evolve and to refine the SOPs is also important. And as the result, of course, we're trying to achieve a very tech-savvy team, DTG-savvy, because DTG is becoming a really high-tech business. And what is also important, that a dealer must be involved in the training process. If the dealer is not involved or is not qualified to be involved, that's not a dealer. That's a simple machine reseller. And it might also make sense to introduce one of your key team members to relevant departments with your customers as well. Let's say you're in contract printing and you're subcontracted by a garment factory. It's always wise to have your production lead cooperate and talk directly to a production lead in the garment factory, so they both understand all the requirements and all the procedures all together. Okay. All right. So one thing I want to demonstrate is one of the case studies, and I would follow the same items I've been talking about today. And the reason I do this is we don't really talk the talk, we walk the talk. So as an experienced DTG company, we would want to demonstrate some of those capabilities of the machine and the production process with DTG on an industrial level. And this is something that I'm gonna show you in a video. And I'll follow the same steps that we have just discussed. When it comes to demand generation, you of course need to figure out yourself how to load your production facility. In this case, this is the order that's like a trial order that we have done for one of the export garment factories in Vietnam, and ultimately printing for a famous fashion brand in the UK. On the output side, we were able to achieve with this printing job 3,400 prints. One artwork is A3 size, and you can see on the right. The other is quite narrow, maybe A5 square. There's a lot of tricks and tips here. You can even see it on the videos, how to make it a non-stoppable action. And something to emphasize here, you really need to watch the particular job, the actions and the movements of your team, every person in production is doing. They should not have any single second to chill. On the process management, this is pretty much straightforward. This is the equipment that we used, and it's very important that actually your other equipment catches up with the speed of F3030. Remember, as we discussed today, F3030 is the fastest compact DTG industrial printer on the market. And don't be naive that you can have a small heat press or spray manually. That won't work and will create a huge bottleneck for you and seriously extend your production time. So worth to say, each shift had here a handover document with machine settings, with printer settings and other information. This is vital when you need to bring new people on board and they would need to understand what has to be done. The way we developed it, we gathered a lot of feedback from each of them. It's not only the job that they handled. So over some time, we were able to identify who is doing better, who of them are qualified as seniors based on their performance. So overall, as it relates to the team and performance, you can see here on the screen, we have 15 people working. So 12 of them were hired as part-time workers, which is why shifts hours were reduced. We had longer in the morning time and shorter in the afternoon, and then some very short late night shifts. So total, the F3030 and other equipment were 20 plus hours a day in operation. At a factory scale, for example, you might want to use the remaining hours for doing your preventive maintenance schedules. So we gathered a lot of feedback from each one of them. And then based on that, we were able to, on the fly, to optimize. So overall, for that number of prints, we had around 5 days total for the whole printing job, which makes it around 650 to 700 prints per day on a single unit of F3030. I emphasize it, just one single machine that was able to deliver that performance based on those shifts that we had. Okay, so last point here related to the reduction of the cost per print. Here is the tool that we believe every salesperson needs to have. This is all in Vietnam Dong, but easy to understand for you. So we have some input data here for each artwork. These are dimensions of the print. In consumption, we run it through the RIP, and from there we'll be able to use the cost calculator to understand the consumption, and also the volumes, how many pieces we need to print. Then we also have some permanent data here. This is ink price for the F3030, pretreatment price, your labor cost, how many hours per day you work, how many days per month you work, your overheads as well per month. And from here, we are able to calculate cost per print, also ink and pretreatment cost per print, also ink and pretreatment in liters, how many would be required for this printing job, and also your net time to finish this job. This is what we do for each single artwork, and also educate our customers to do as well. Overall, once you have this tool, there is plenty of room to optimize your costs. You need to control what's going on in your production. So as the matter of a conclusion for this part, there is a lot of optimization here to get the revenue and profit increased from the production standpoint. And Epson F3030 is a very, very powerful tool in your hands. And what you need to do is just figure out how to use it at its maximum capacity. Okay, so let's move to the next part, which I want to touch base on. And that to me is one of the most, I would say, underestimated things, at least in Vietnam. Not sure about the region, but this is what we found out in Vietnam. This is preparing your DTG facility for the production based on F3030. Somehow people here are keen on investing in machinery, but they would tend to try to place it in a simple house and think that it will necessarily work great and perform well. Well, you might do it with your entry-level DTG like F2130 and place it in your garage or whatever it would be. But when you try to hit numbers, everything around has to be well prepared for a production run. So effective high volume DTG production will require a build-to-suit industrial space. Depending on your setup, it could be a factory level, or it is just a couple of 100 square meters. Then a certain engineering systems within your building might be required. But it also starts with this question first. How many garments per hour will my production setup allow me to print? So think about your past orders with other decoration methods, if you have this background. What will happen tomorrow as opposed to what's going on today? How my business model will affect production setup. And we will get to business models today as well. But here are some basics I'd like you to know. More print on demand or fulfillment type of a business, that's thousands of prints, all different. Wholesale business is the same design, thousands of garments with the same design printed. Fast fashion or fashion market, quite a difficult market to work in, might require you a lot of efforts on quality control. But as it relates to production requirements and software standpoints, the questions to ask would be, does it allow scalability? What if I need to add another F3030 to my production? How this will all run together? Matching speed. What's the speed of my conveyor belt dryer? Will it catch up with my 2 units or 3 units of F3030? Software, really important thing. Will I use automation? What's my production RIP? Is it cloud-based? We'll also touch a little bit on the software today, but those are the things that might be in your mind when you're thinking about production requirements. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the space in details. And space is a commodity. So you need to make sure that you really have enough space for your production setup. Let's say you need to deliver up to 400 dark garments per hour, or 600 to 800 total in mixed colors and mixed sizes. You need to start with understanding, all right, how many F3030s you would need for it. Let's say, just for this case, like let's say 6 units are feasible. Then what's the other equipment required here that will handle 6 units? In this scenario, I place here 8-meter chamber conveyor belt dryer. Now, the question is, how much square meter total? And very important is to visualize it first. Measure, place on the layout. If you have a facility already, you can even go and do some floor markings. There is a whole theory about doing floor marking in factories and how to do it properly. You can also find that and follow that. Space-wise, what's on my layout? Do I have enough space for those areas that I need to think about? It could be equipment only, and then the product workflow when products come in and come out, warehouse, some sort of tech room where you would service some of that equipment. Where do you do wash tests, your washing lab, and other spaces that you might need to allocate in your layout. Some logical separations that you might want to think about, separating dry from wet, clean from dirty. With regards to DTG production runs, sometimes even light colors production line with dark colors production lines, normal light and some special light if you need that, reinforced floor for heavy equipment from a regular floor. So those are the things to think about in terms of separation. And also, if you're going to certify your facility, your factory, what are the sustainability standards that you need to meet? What are the safety regulations? When it comes to engineering, we have to address the key supply systems within the building or facility that we're going to run production. Air conditioning would be probably the first one for Southeast Asia countries. We don't need heat, but we have to deal with a lot of heat here. Humidity systems as well, ventilation, water drainage with regards to proper waste disposal can also be a very separate issue to handle. When it comes for the temperature levels in our region, surely the biggest challenge is that we need to deal with a lot of heat. And that makes it inevitable for us to set up all sorts of AC systems. From our experience, being many years here in DTG, that the proper ink storage and also the ink flow with your machines is achieved at the level of 20 to 23 degrees Celsius. Quick case for Vietnam. We have to approach this matter slightly different in different cities, in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. As you might know, Hanoi is 2,000 kilometers to the north. So half a year there, the temperature drops below the levels that we need. In Ho Chi Minh, the situation is completely different and more complex. A lot of your overheads here are actually around ensuring the controlled cool temperature 24/7 in your facility. Sometimes maybe if you run not 3 shifts, not 24/7, maybe you can reduce that. But when you do ink storage, we found out that it's better to have a facility air conditioned all 24 hours a day. So efforts here are significantly more in terms of ensuring this. Overall, what you need to ensure is that your workers have a healthy environment to work in, and then when it comes to print heads, they always last longer when the ink flows properly and doesn't clog. Additionally, you need to understand the printers are really smart nowadays. So the higher the temperature, the more cleanings they will handle. And you also need to be aware of this when you set up your facility. Okay, a few words about quality control. And I placed it here in this section because this is directly related to how you do your factory layout and allocate space. And the prerequisite to it, your DTG operator is not your quality control guy. With the speed that F3030 offers, the operator will get new print every 1 or 2 minutes. Now, what we notice statistically is that after half an hour, the operator will not see any difference regardless of what's happening in front of him with his print, because it's just subsequent printing and receiving print after print. And so they would lose focus on what they're actually having as the output. Kind of very small professional tip that we have come up with is to have some kind of alarm at hand that you would set every once in a while. It would beep, and that's like a reminder for operator, please focus on this particular print and do some random QC and make sure that it's good and it passes the QC requirements. But as much as you could, try to remove any production influence on verifying the final result. So to do that, you need to have a separate space for this, and some skeptical guys having to work there to check every single piece. Quality control will be required for the inflow and outflow of the orders. Garments can contain holes, oil from sewing machines, extra thread, dust, whatever this would be. That also has to be verified. Also, waste your spoilage wisely. Store it and use it later for tests, like color management. If you're in the fashion market, you would need a lot of that to do some color management tests. Finally, let's say you're in contract printing, and make sure that you're on the same page with the factories on the reject rates. Normally, we would say this is between 3 to 4%. And with fashion especially, you might need to have a lot of attention on quality control. Now, overall, F3030 is very, very consistent in the output. But all the issues they arise, that's primarily human factor. And human factor cannot be completely eliminated, which is why all those things when you are preparing your DTG facility has to be taken over. All right, now the other thing and the last thing that I want to focus today on is different DTG solutions for various business models, which are all F3030 based, all right? And this will help us understand better what's the difference between different business models and which DTG solution based on F3030 would fit best in each case. Now, there are 3 major audiences that will benefit most from the ownership of F3030. At least this is how we see it in Vietnam, and also I believe that will be still feasible beyond. So those audiences are wholesalers, and wholesalers are mostly focused on speed and repeated jobs of the same print. They probably have a little bit less margins than the wholesale, and also they look always into optimization of the labor and space. This is really critical for them. And like I said, this is primarily small businesses with a wide network of regional local shops. The other audience would be this print on demand or e-commerce. They require a different level, I would say, a high level of DTG production automation, and they run a big volume of one-off printing jobs. Most of them have very strong e-commerce focus, and most of those people have strong IT background as well. And they also need a wide range of various substrates to print on. Lastly, fast fashion. Fast fashion, you can work directly with brands. You can work through contracted factories, which would primarily be the case, I would say, with fashion brands, especially global ones. And they, in nowadays especially, they try to reduce production runs as much as they could and achieve really fast turnaround with those short runs. It's very critical for those brands to seek for sustainable printing and certifications, all types of sustainability certificates, eco-friendly certificates, safety, and all of those things. And they put tremendous focus on quality and consistency over the production runs. Now, what we showed you in the last video before is primarily targeted to this sector, the fast fashion one. And in the rest of my time today, I'd like to focus on automation software solutions and thus e-commerce based model and print on demand model. It's not surprising that e-commerce is now virtually eating traditional retail. And we believe post-COVID garment decoration industry has to be much better digitalized in order to meet the demand. Now, if we talk about a solution for print on demand, an e-commerce solution, here is the typical simplified workflow of the process. So you got a consumer making a purchase and submitting the order on your web storefront. This could be on an online store based on WooCommerce, Magento, Shopify, or any of those models presented here. Or simply your DIY e-commerce store. This would normally integrate with your order management and fulfillment system. In a simple scenario, again, this could be simply the back end of your web store where you manage all the orders. In a more advanced scenario, this could be some standalone solutions like the ones you see here on the screen, or many others. This could also be your own developed system. The idea of it is to track orders, do invoicing, do barcoding, tracking, packaging, shipping labels, and all relevant actions which are applied to the order. Now, what you also have is you have your RIP software, and that's where you need a web-based delivery mechanism for the artwork, and then you need proper production workflow and color management component, and ultimately some job sorting to your specific device. And in our case, that would be Epson F3030. That is where you get your final product and ultimately do the remaining stages of the order fulfillment. Now, let's take it even a step further. Let's assume you have, as shown here on this diagram, you have multiple storefronts that you have. It could be your own storefronts, or it could be your customer stores using the same mechanism to submit digital orders. And for that, you will need some kind of centralized, unattended job processing, fully in the cloud or your IT infrastructure, there where all the jobs are sorted, there where the artwork is ripped and sent further to spooler applications. So your output, your F3030s, they can physically be set up in different locations, and jobs will be sorted to the appropriate device and location. And at the final stage, what the operator does before physically sending it to the printer is they would have some kind of a light client on the workstation, which is connected to their printer, so that they can double check and preview the job and then send it to be printed. And depending on your specific web store software that you use, and the number of your F3030s and their locations, the solution can actually be pretty well customized. And this entire process can be completely automated and run from a single barcode scanner for the operator. So ultimately, the F3030 becomes a part of this cloud-based or local network-based DTG solution. And this solution will allow you to process jobs in a more sort of centralized way and manage data in really high volumes. So the whole point is that there is a lot of data that you need to operate once consumers place orders online, and then you need to manage the jobs properly. It's becoming not only about the machine itself, but about the workflow and how to manage all the data. Okay, so a few words about barcodes here. Barcodes essentially is a tool in the hands of the operator to reduce manual steps and to make the process more effective. Most of the POD solutions use it in the production workflow. It could be beneficial if you are already in the print-on-demand fulfillment business and you try to increase your efficiency. If you are, say, a seller on these platforms, but want to extend and start your own manufacturing, printing in-house, that's where you can benefit. If you are a garment factories and you have been approached by POD platforms, which happens everywhere now in Vietnam, to do both sewing and printing, that's where you can benefit as well. If you are just one-off printing and you're trying to improve your workflow efficiency, that's where you benefit as well. Now, what we're going to show you is a live demo from our facility. And this will include the server-based solution for print-on-demand. Ripping of the files will be handled by the server and production spoolers and operators' workstation for the output. So we will be using F3030 as the primary printer. We will be using the pretreatment machine for the pretreatment process, also based on the barcode. We would also be using the Epson ColorWorks printer for barcodes label printing. And of course, we will be using the simple 2D barcode scanner to scan and handle the printing itself as well. This is how our production workflow will generally look like. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna order online from the mock-up web store that we have prepared in advance. Then once we do that, we will take the inventory and we will print the generated barcode sticker and place it on the relevant garment. Then what we'll do next, and we will scan to pretreat and dry the garment in the conveyor belt dryer. Then we scan the artwork to get the artwork on the production spooler. And what we actually do, we will print the artwork and then we will cure the ink. And then what we'll do in the last stage, of course, is that we basically complete the steps which are necessary to finish the order. And that would be mostly packaging and shipping. So this is some generic production flow workflow that we will be using, and let's look how the demo, what the demo will look like. All right, thank you very much for your attention today. I hope this was really practical for you and you can apply it to grow your DTG businesses to the industrial level. On the screen right now, you can see our contacts. Feel free, please, to reach out to us if you have some comments, questions, if you need any help, or please talk to your local dealer or the amazing regional team from Epson. Thank you very much again.
Thank you for your time and insights, Dimitri. I'm sure many of our viewers here have a better understanding on how they can establish an effective, high-volume DTG printing business using our Epson SureColor SCF3030. I would also like to use this opportunity to show you a product demo video that we did last year to share with you some features of the F3030. Kindly take a look at the following video. Next, I'd like to show you our SureColor F3030, Epson's brand new industrial direct-to-garment printer. First look at this printer is it's relatively larger if you compare with our current lineup, the F2130. Our F2130 is mainly developed for entry to mid-production users, while our F3030 is for users with a print volume of up to 10,000 shirts per month. So let's take a look at our F3030. The F3030 comes with a stand for easy installation, and the key controls are placed close to the platen for quick and easy access. This machine also has an LCD display panel with an improved user interface compared to the F2130. It has all the key information such as the ink levels, temperature and humidity in one panel. Next, I'd like to show you some key features of the F3030. What's most impressive about the F3030 is the lightning fast print speed. This is thanks to the two new 2.6-inch micro TFP print head. This model is able to produce a dark color t-shirt under 1 minute. Let me prove it to you. So here I have a timer with me and the t-shirt has been laid out nicely. And I'll just have to send it to print. So as you are waiting for the t-shirt to be printed, let me explain to you how this dual print head process works. First, it will lay a layer of white ink on the t-shirt, then a second layer of CMYK color ink. The two print heads are structured in a way where there will be minimal waiting time so that the first layer is dry before the second layer is applied. So it's like almost simultaneous white layer printing and CMYK printing in one platen feed. Comparing with the current 2130 model, the F3030 can print up to 3.4 times faster for dark garment and 1.7 times faster for white garment. So here, it takes a total of 52 seconds to print one dark garment. Another feature that I would like to highlight for this printer is the ink pack. So here's an example of how the ink pack looks like, and as you can see, it's very compact. And with a bulk ink of 1.5 litre, it will mean that you need to replace the ink less often. And if you compare with the F2130 600ml ink cartridge, this new ink pack takes up less space and there will be less waste. This printer also provides more convenience with the auto gap adjustment. Unlike the F2130, the F3030 doesn't require you to manually adjust the platen height when we change garments of different thickness. Last but not least, you can access the areas that require maintenance very easily. With a white cover and LED light, user can easily see and clean the fluff and ink around the head and suction cap. With that, you can be assured of outstanding print quality if you maintain it regularly. And that's all for the F3030. Hope this video has helped you to understand more on our F3030. This printer also comes with replaceable print heads, so you can easily replace it yourself with just 4 simple steps. This means that you'll be able to eliminate the waiting time for service engineer support, resulting in lesser downtime for your printer. You can easily order an additional print head via our cloud-based software, the Epson Cloud Solution Pod. This software not only allows you to order print heads, but also monitor your printer status remotely. It comes with a production monitor for you to view the operational status of your printers, the remaining ink left in your printer, and more. For more information on the Epson Cloud Solution Port, please watch the following video that we have prepared.
Have you ever wondered how your business can improve your productivity by doing remote monitoring and basic management of your large format printers and commercial printers simultaneously? Introducing Epson Cloud Solution Port, a platform for cloud-based services that allow businesses greater control over your fleet of printers. Basic monitoring of your printers, such as checking your printer's health status, finding out remaining ink levels, or quickly identifying any critical errors highlighted, are possible. The Production Monitor identifies the most urgent actions required and helps you to correct and plan the issue efficiently, with minimal disruption to the print run. All of these can be done with a clear and simple dashboard, drawing from usage data, providing insights needed to make critical business decisions to maximize productivity. The report feature can be summarized for a specified time and display them graphically. This cloud-based platform also provides you with a faster turnaround time to minimize downtime in the unfortunate event of a printer fault. By establishing the remote connection with Epson, you can reach out to our Epson Help Desk, who provides support. Our customer service team can assist you through the basic troubleshooting and diagnostic with the collected information from the printer to isolate the issue. Enjoy a peace of mind with Epson's comprehensive range of warranty coverage, coupled with our experienced fleet of service engineers. Using the Epson Cloud Solution Port, our customer service staff can quickly and accurately inform our service engineers of the vital information collected from your printer to narrow down the fault before the on-site servicing. At Epson, we use service providers that meet global security standards and criteria. So, be rest assured that your data is safe with us. With the Production Monitor, you will get first-hand information when your printer ink or media are running low. It helps you to reach out to your dealer faster to purchase your supplies to avoid any downtime. You will no longer need to deal with the long lead time for the consumables to arrive, increasing your productivity and ensuring the continued availability of consumables. The Epson Cloud Solution Port mobile app is now available on both the Google Play Store and Apple App Store for users on the go. This will enable you to grasp the state of the printers in the production site on your smart devices anytime, anywhere. In an ever-changing world, it is vital to stay connected and on top of your production schedule. With the secured Epson Cloud Solution Port, users can always enjoy stress-free printing while ensuring quality prints.
That's all for this session today on establishing an effective high-volume DTG printing business. If you have any other questions to the Epson team, feel free to ask using the webinar chat function. Our team is on standby to answer your queries. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you soon.
Thank you to Dimitri and Wendy. I believe all of you have gained a better understanding of increasing your business revenue with our Epson products coupled with a suitable solution. Before we end today's session, we would like you to participate in a short survey by scanning the QR code on the screen. You will also be directed to a survey page upon exiting this webinar. Your feedback will allow us to improve your experience for our future webinars. Finally, on behalf of the Epson team, we thank you for attending this webinar session, and I hope to see all of you really soon. Take care and goodbye.